Good afternoon, everyone. We still need a few moments that everything would be properly started up. We have also Zoom streaming. That's why so many microphones and other technical questions, which we are trying to solve out. I would kindly ask that you move it to the first slide. Okay, next slide one. Yeah. Okay. Now I would like to give the word to our professor, Michael Mirza. Michael, I think, I'm sorry for wrong pronunciation, the vice rector of the University of Primorska for the field of internationalization.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is a pleasure to open this session. Diversity and inclusion are topics that are central to the role of universities to make everyone feel at ease in the society, everyone feel like they are part of the society. And this is a topic that is present in my heart and that I would like to especially promote. So I'm very happy that we're organizing this today. I will be short and let Rosabel follow on from the University of Alicante. Thank you and welcome everyone.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Rosabel Martinez Roig. I'm assistant professor at the Faculty of Education in the University of Alicante. Thank you, Professor Michael. And first of all, I would like to thank University of Primorska for this wonderful organization of the event. And well, you may know that this T4EU project is like the second stage of a bigger project we had before. And me and my colleague Noelia, we were a bit worried because in the first big project, we didn't have any specific event on inclusion or diversity. However, at the same time, we normally are used to listening to the importance of inclusion, diversity, social inclusion, but it was a bit surprising for us that we didn't have the opportunity to make a specific event in the first stage of the project. So now we were very excited. We were very happy to have the opportunity to organize it here in Primorska, which is a really special area for us next to Italy, in Slovenia. It's a really interesting area to have this opportunity and this atmosphere with all the people who came. Thank you very much. To listening to different perspectives of all the panelists and at the same time sharing experiences and sharing questions or opinions in the discussion time we will have at the end. So I think it's the time to start with the keynote speaker. So thank you very much and I hope you enjoy the event.
Vlado, could you please come for having your keynote speech? And I would kindly ask for presenting her PowerPoint presentation. Vlado, stage is yours.
I have this one small one. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Is this? Okay. Universities, these unique laboratories of truth, knowledge, and power production, set in the spirit of the French philosopher Michel Foucault, have for centuries been the rigorous guardians of patriarchy, hierarchy, distinction, privilege, and faithful reproducers of intellectual masculine domination, if paraphrasing another French thinker, the sociologist Pierre Bourdieu. Until a few decades ago, this domination enjoyed the status of a natural order of affairs at university, in the academic world, and in intellectual culture in general. Although diversity, equality, equity, inclusion short day initiatives are no longer new. Universities and other academic, scientific, and research institutions have been quite slow to implement them concretely, which has only recently begun to happen. In many academic environments, especially the less prominent and more provincial ones, people at universities have believed in the belief that race equality or different ethnicity equality, gender equality, sexual orientation equality, different ability equality, class equality, or socioeconomic equality is an unproblematic issue. The fixed belief that the university is a perennial beacon of knowledge, an extra territory of automatic open-mindedness, a promised barometer of refined intellectual culture, and an undisputed accelerator of advanced social prosperity has been long undoubted and unproblematized in many academic environments. No matter how we define or understand the university, I do not dare to say with certainty that the university is the most hospitable institution in society today. I actually think, speaking from my own experience of academic life over the past 3 decades, that the university has not been, and perhaps still is not, the most hospitable place for cultivating diversity, equity, equality, and inclusion. However, the university has made a significant historical transformation from an institution for the select to an institution of mass higher education. Still, this gradual opening of the university to a diverse world has not automatically made it more inclusive. Stephen Collini, one of British most respected contributors to public debates about universities and their role or their place in modern society, in the book, What Are Universities For?, wonders why societies still need universities. Societies need public goods, and the university is supposed to be a public good that societies need, he argues. However, this wonder itself is quite meaningful, as it suggests that universities may have a problem with being a public good, or worse, that they are a problem for societies if they do not function as public services for societies. From a situation where universities did not care much about diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion, to a situation where universities are required to become diverse, equal, fair, and inclusive institutions, significant progress has certainly been made. The university is not only changing, but is constantly reinventing itself in the sense of invented tradition, through branding, debranding, and rebranding. Once upon a time, the university swore by the exclusivity of mastery and some special virtue of academic collegiality. Then it claimed for itself a special type of autonomy, a kind of extraterritorial autonomy. Then it declared academic freedom, commitment to truth and knowledge. Then it submitted to the mass education, embracing the idea of a university for all. And today, promote itself as a diverse, equal, fair, and inclusive community. It would be naive to think that universities have accepted or are accepting the recent day newspeak with open arms. As a matter of truth, they were more or less forced by conditioning the acquisition or non-acquisition of funds and financial assets to make changes in terms of introducing the principles of diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion within their institutional frameworks. In the last 20 years, international organizations, supranational associations, and nation states have adopted policies and adapted legislation related to equal and inclusive treatment of diverse people of different genders, sexes, or gender, sex identities, sexual orientations, abilities, different life stages, skin colors, ethnicities, lifestyles, or some other personal circumstance. These efforts were mostly made within academic institutions due to the external initiatives and pressure of various non-governmental, especially women's, feminist, and LGBT+ organizations at the international, transnational, and national level. Intensified implementation of day policies has recently been accompanied by various day indices, which continuously report developments, improvements, and deteriorations. Despite the academic equality progress so far, for example, related to the increase of women in science and in academic leadership or in decision-making positions, some types of equality remain rather poorly reflected. Gender equality, for instance, in many academic environments is still understood exclusively as the equality of men and women, excluding transgender, intersex, and non-binary people. Race equality is still perceived as a non-issue in predominantly white academic environments, even though the same environments may have problems with scientific racism or other kinds of racism. Ethnic equality is in less multicultural academic environments or environments that are not favorable to multiculturalism, still a serious challenge when it comes to scientific and academic nationalisms and imperialisms. Socioeconomic equality seems still far away from sleazy classism and status racism, still quite often present in everyday academic life. Different abilities equality is still not always and everywhere understood in such a way that it needs to be co-policy strategized by disabled academic persons, not only by non-disabled functionaries who can only imagine disability, but they do not live it, etc. Universities around the world have reacted differently to the recent day newspeak. The more progressive and intellectually propulsive ones, who might have decades ago even co-created the equality agenda from the start, have sought to implement it as quickly and effectively as possible. Some university environments have had reservations and inabilities to adopt equality ideology as an imperative of their mission and functioning. In some academic environments, there were internal tensions and resistance to the academic equality agenda. Some staff, for example, saw the introduction of gender equality principles in a very radical or rather conspiratorial way, that is, as a threat to turn the university into a gender university. In short, universities are extremely heterogeneous and unequal arenas in raising the equality consciousness. One pattern seems almost universal at work. Declaratively, academic institutions and their protagonists usually favor their principles and values, even though sometimes only for pragmatic reasons, because it is difficult to be against nowadays. An opposing stance perhaps does not bring major benefits in the current global academic conjuncture. But in reality, many things can happen, including the fact that academic practices directly oppose academic declarations, especially those that are part of the invisible academic everyday life. So where is the university today concerning diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion? The answer is not easy and varies from university to university, faculty to faculty, even from department to department. The fact is that there are enormous differences between universities when it comes to different types of equality issues and their readiness to proceed implementation in academic practice. Western universities, especially the most intellectually propulsive and progressive, dictate the pace and give tone to developments and improvements. In today's highly dynamic and competitive knowledge marketplace, universities and academic institutions have also turned into intensive promotion and creative branding as a solution to their no longer taken for granted position in society. Universities today market everything that can be marketed by a university. The studies, the staff, the students, the place, the building, the history, the tradition, and their symbolic academic principles. One of these principles, which is nowadays the subject of much promotion and branding exploitation, is equality, equity, which is then related to other two principles, diversity and inclusion. The DAY principles have recently also become part of the criteria in the field of university rankings, that is, influential assessments of higher education institutions conducted by various organizations and publications worldwide, impacting reputation, funding, and student recruitment. Although these rankings, to which many academics have a critical, if not dismissive attitude, use a variety of criteria and methodologies for the evaluation of universities, all with the aim of providing various lists of top-performing academic institutions to attract students and staff. In fact, these rankings are influential as much as they are followed by students, parents, policymakers, and the media. The point of this list is not only a constant monitoring, but above all, a constant competition in which universities move up and down the ladder of rankings. Since it is a prestigious competition, of course, in a dynamic academic market, promoting diversity, equality, equity, and inclusivity in universities has become a multifaceted strategic practice that positively or negatively affects their rankings in various ways. For instance, reputation. It is assumed that diverse, equal, fair, and inclusive academic environments attract the best students and staff, which enhance the institution's academic reputation. Internationalization. It is assumed that promoting diversity leads to a more international character of academic institutions, which has a positive effect on the exchange of ideas internally and externally, institutionally and globally. Innovation. It is assumed that diverse and inclusive academic environments stimulate innovative research by bringing together individuals with different perspectives and backgrounds. Funding. It is assumed that diverse, equal, fair, and inclusive academic environments have access to more funding opportunities, benefiting facilities, research programs, and overall quality. Well-being. It is assumed that diverse, equal, fair, and inclusive academic environments contribute to a more positive study or work experience, resulting in higher retention rates and productivity. And last, engagement. It is assumed that diverse, equal, fair, and inclusive academic environments are better equipped to address social and global issues, demonstrate greater social responsibility towards society, and act as an example of integrity. However, the correlation between their principles and rankings is usually not direct, as it is expected that universities should prioritize and embrace these principles anyway. That is, as an integral part of their social role, mission, and values, not only for higher rankings. Universities make special efforts to make diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion their overarching university brands. Prominent universities seem particularly active and inventive when it comes to producing institutional situations in which a high level of brand loyalty or brand awareness is expected as a condition for creating a strong university brand. When it comes to managing diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion as brands, everything counts, from what we declare to what we actually do. That is, from the quality of studies, the quality of staff, student living facilities, university reputation, the level of intellectual culture, emotional atmosphere, career development prospects, interpersonal relationships, and to what some professor says in the lecture hall, and that statement then goes viral on social platforms, etc. Following the logic of propulsive promotion, successful branding, universities are developing an increasingly complex infrastructure of various commitments to convince internal and external publics and audiences that they act in accordance with their principles and values. Some, along with this self-branding, which should always be taken rather carefully, are developing what we now like to call good practice. A good practice would be that shows a close connection between saying and doing, declaring and practicing, branding and living. In other words, integrity-based day branding can be delivered primarily by those in universities that have dedicated numerous commitments with concrete materialized ends, such as offices offering mentorship, counseling, and outreach initiatives to create a sense of belonging, and concrete programs promoting diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion. Let me mention 3 examples, albeit very briefly due to time constraints, that seem interesting in this sense. First example, okay. The example of the University of Oxford seems interesting from the content point of view, as it signals a significant differentiation and sophistication of their topics, with a series of policies, strategies, actions, staff trainings, and instructions for individual areas of equality themes, such as race equality or anti-racism advocacy, disability equality, gender equality, religious equality or non-discrimination on grounds of belief, sexual orientation equality or LGBT+ equality, transgender equality, age non-discrimination or different life stages equality, harassment advice, etc. All this ramified institutional infrastructure of policies and advocacies that the university promotes internally and externally is supposed to serve a simple and single goal: to make the university a more diverse, equal, fair, and inclusive environment. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. The second example, that of Princeton University, seems interesting from the point of view of the organization, as it signals a significant organizational concretization with a concrete indication of people, for example, provosts, directors, specialists, analysts, coordinators, and supporting administrative assistants responsible for institutional equality, diversity, and inclusion, monitoring, analysis, etc., in the field of gender equality, equal employment opportunity, etc. And the last example, the third case, the case of Wiener Universität or University of Vienna, seems interesting from the point of view of communication, as it signals some discrepancies in which today's universities are placed in relation to wider society and also to the legal social orders within which the universities are supposed to operate. The University of Vienna, they have a special unit, the Human Resources and Gender Equality Unit, which is, as they write, is supposedly responsible for organizing, providing, and implementing personal services. This unit offers many services for employees, including gender equality and diversity services covered by a special subunit, the Culture and Equality Unit, formerly the Gender Equality and Diversity Unit, which pursues, as they write, the goal of an inclusive university with fair opportunities. On the website, it is written that historically, this unit was founded for the career advancement for women in academia, but later it expanded its tasks to the establishment of an organizational culture that is sensitive to diversity and discrimination. Their previous development plan from 2020 contained also the following thoughts. Gender equality is one of the key dimensions of diversity and is given special importance at university. Gender equality is not only a legal obligation, but also a key component of the university culture profile. Promoting gender equality is a key concern of the university, etc. Among the goals set at that time, they listed a balanced ratio of women and men at all levels, and the goal of gender equality, which should be included in all activities of the university and written down as a universal guiding principles. However, their current development plan from 2025 uses the term transgender or intersex people only once when they write, I quote, "The university respects and supports transgender and intersex people within the scope of its possibilities." In the anti-discrimination law and legal gender studies section, they carefully mention a third option in addition to male and female in civil status matters. Unlike more Western universities, especially American and British ones, which have recently highlighted their transgender policies, trans equality policies, and leave name policies, the University of Vienna has not yet gone further than this short declarative commitment, although it prominently promotes exactly this part of the plan as its leading mission statement. Numerous others, European and American or Western universities are considered pioneers or particularly active in the field of their agenda, such as the universities of Alicante, Bern, Bergen, Bologna, California, Edinburgh, Gothenburg, Helsinki, Leeds, Lund, Zurich, etc., also promote their commitments to the day principles and values on their websites. I cannot here go further into details when it comes to individual cases, nor do I have direct insight into the functioning of these university environments concerning day principles, implementation, and practice. However, a cursory review does suggest that the most nuanced and differentiated a university's commitment to the day principles is, the more it is assumed to be able to detect and address the problem of complex non-diversities, inequalities, inequities, and non-inclusivities in intersectional perspective. All in all, some common features from what we have, what has been said, can be extracted concerning day commitments, which at first sight act as a good practice. First, the nuanced differentiation and sophistication of day commitments, which suggests that they are trying to address a wide range of day topics. That is the content level. Second, a clear institutional placement in the university framework, including specific personnel, staff, in charge of day matters. That is the organizational level. And third, day issues are an important part of university self-branding and internal and external promotion, that is communicational level. So universities, as quite specific institutions and communities, and therefore also a specific habituses, have a different, I would say, practical sense of producing and implementing day policies, and different practical reason for practicing day values. Even more so as their commitments depend on things that are fairly specific to each university, such as everyday reality and contradictions between declarative and practice, branded and lived, on different kinds of capitals employed or earned, such as economic capital, social capital, cultural capital, or symbolic capital, on different collective individual dispositions to cultivate their values, on academic reproduction and reflexivity and similar. In academic environments that are less rigorous and in practicing day principles and values, diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion are possible under narrower social conditions. As such, environments tend not to reward the day dispositions that make academic agents, in Pierre Bourdieu's words, permanently and continuously interested in practicing diversity, equality, equity, and inclusivity. This praxeological lesson applies to collectives as well as to individuals. Only in those academic environments where day principles and values are collective and individual dispositions that bring symbolic remuneration, that is symbolic capital, are academic social agents themselves interested in acting a diverse, equal, fair, and inclusive way, not just declaring it. In Bourdieusian sense, diversity, equality, equity, and inclusivity are possible only when individual and collective habituses predisposed to day principles and values are constantly and systematically practiced every day and beyond the visible branding or even hyper-branding scenarios. The aforementioned universities and their day commitments and efforts can surely be also model examples for Slovenian universities, as they have only recently accepted their gender equality plans, which could be entirely a separate topic for some other speech and not this one here. To briefly conclude this keynote speech, if day branding will bring or is bringing more diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion to our universities, or to put it another way, if day branding is a way that actually brings more diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion to academic institutions and their communities, then I openly say yes to such transformative branding that empowers us all, not only in day branding, but also in day living. I want to emphasize this in particular because day branding or even hyper day branding, whose academic purpose would be only a superficial masquerade rather than true transformation, would certainly be not only a painful lesson for those of us in academia who have genuine hopes for diversity, but also an unpleasant revelation for the university itself as a social institution and its integrity in society. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Kotnik.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. So once again,
Any question or?
The questions will be at the.
Okay, thank you very much.
So we are starting the roundtable titled Voices of Inclusion, Navigating Community, Identity and Challenges in Diverse Europe. As you probably know, T4EU weeks. It's okay. T4EU weeks are designed to meet, network, and collaborate within European universities. Each week focuses on specific topic that attracts different target groups. So after the keynote of Professor Vlado Kotnik on diverse, equal, fair, and inclusive university, we are delighted to begin a roundtable with 5 interesting guests presenting on inclusion, challenges, and solutions from various perspectives. Altogether, we warmly welcome you to the continuation of today's event. The moderators of the roundtable are Associate Professor, my colleague Alenka Janko-Spreitzer, and I, today Praprotnik, as an Assistant Professor. As I said, we have invited various guests to present their activities. Their common theme are diversity and inclusivity. Namely, we have to be aware that ensuring that diversity and inclusivity have to be implemented in pedagogical processes too, as well. So here are some details regarding the roundtable. Along with my colleague Alenka, we will briefly introduce our guests at the beginning, following which the guests will present the key specifics of their work in the form of PowerPoint presentation. According to the time frame, which is very tight, we will try to organize and present the whole roundtable as smoothly as possible. If time allows, and I hope it will be so, the audience will also have for sure the opportunity to ask questions to the guests. So a few words about the guests. We invited guests who either collaborate with our University of Primorska or either collaborate or represent a kind of bridge to the University of Trieste. Borut Jerman and Marko Gavrilovski-Tretjak are former students of our University of Primorska. Sandy Horvat is a regular guest in our study programs. Maja Vranjaš from University of Trieste collaborates with the Department of Italian Studies. And we have a colleague, Zaira Vidal, who works at the Slovene Research Institute Slori in Trieste. And now I pass the floor to my colleague, Alenka, who will introduce the first guest.
Okay, thank you. Today, as you have possibility to notice, we are so frozen with those mics here. We need them because of the Zoom streaming. And yeah, ordinarily we are not so cold and so awkward somehow. Okay, I'd like to present our first guest, Borut Jerman, who would speak about empowering diversity, local projects, programs, and initiatives for inclusive communities. He's coming from NGO PINA, where he is a president, and he brings a wealth of experience in creative industries, participation, culture, art, and critical reflections. His expertise as a planner, coordinator, and head of national and international projects in these fields is unparalleled. He is the head of the HECA Art and Science Laboratory and the producer of the Media Art Festival ISIS. PINA is an NGO that has promoted socially responsible practices and strengthened the culture of dialogue for almost or over 20 years. Could you please, Borut, present how you through PINA contribute to empowering diversity and developing intercultural environments? What are the main challenges in cooperation within international and global projects? And what are the most important aspects of the social inclusion of economically disadvantaged groups at the periphery in the global world? And how is it about the empowering of women's project? You have 7 minutes to respond.
Hello, Lenka. Hello, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity. Yes, I'm come from PINA. PINA is an NGO based in Koper and working internationally and working with digital technologies, and it happens all the time like this. Okay, I'm here, yes. PINA actually has 5 pillars content-wise. We work with participation, non-formal education, art, culture, and science, communication information, and support structures. And actually, I wanted to ask you a question. Have you ever been, raise your hand, if you have you ever been in a position that you needed to explain your needs, your wishes, your fears, your doubts? Raise your hand if you ever been in such position in life, generally. So all the other ones, you never needed to explain what you want to someone, for your professor, for example. Great. For the one who were in this position, did you felt hurt from the people that you were talking to? Okay. So yeah, actually, okay, I want to point out to the support structures we are working with, but yes, the main challenge we have is how to be heard. How to be heard as individuals and how to be heard as communities. We work a lot with national minorities in the region, and our approach is all of us are migrants. All of us are somehow members of some minority, if you took really a close look. And as I said, we started locally. One of the first project was called Ena Kost. It's like one bone translated, but Ena Kost means also equality, Ena Kost in Slovenian language. And we started with working with national representatives of national communities of the ex-Yugoslavia. So all the Croatian, Bosnian, Serbian, Muslim from Bosnia, Chernogora, and Macedonia, and also the Albanian community. And we tested various approaches in that project, especially working with artistic approaches. We work a lot with the Theater of the Oppressed methodology. If you want to know more, just Google Theater of the Oppressed. And then after that experience, we managed to open the Center for Intercultural Dialogue in Koper, focusing mainly in testing and working with systems that support migrants and members of those minorities. We actually gather all the stakeholders directly and indirectly involved in working with this population or this community, and we help through this communication among stakeholders to ensure a better support for those groups. And this approach lasts now as well. And of course, because we weren't happy, we moved to an international level, and we went to Bosnia, where we work for about 10 years now. This is like the 4th project we're implementing there, focusing on Muslim women's and their approach in the market, of labor market, working with social entrepreneurship and tourism. We're working in Jajce in Travnik in Bosnia, and it's really super fantastic to see after 10 years the results we are obtaining, creating new jobs, creating startups, and supporting those populations. And of course, because we think big, we moved even further. Now we are collaborating a lot of time with the Slovenian Academy of Science and Arts, and we are now implementing the WIND project that is working on the labor market for women's throughout the whole Danube region, so the region where the river Danube is passing. And I'm sorry, probably you noticed that I'm watching all the time I watch, but because on WhatsApp it's a huge debate. On Saturday, I'm going to Senegal for 1 week because we are collaborating in the first European Commission project Starts. Starts is a program under the Horizon brand that it means science, technology, arts. And Starts for Africa is the first project that European Commission decided to finance outside Europe. And PINA is the head, the coordinator of the work package of the STARTS Academy, and we are collaborating at the moment with 4 sub-Saharan countries: Nigeria, Tanzania, Ghana, and Senegal. And as I said, we want to work with community differently. And when we were selected to support this project, I have to say I was frightened as hell. Why? I mean, I'm white, male, cisgender, and I will go to Africa to be there and tell people what they have to know. And I said, we don't want to repeat European mistakes from the past. So we invest a lot of the project money to go to Africa. Me and my colleague been in December. We did 13 flights in 10 days to visit people, our partners, to meet them, to know them, and to talk about what and how can we support them, starting from their needs and wishes. We didn't want to come there as clever Europeans stating, okay, we will teach you something. And we realized that based on all our experience, that nobody is capable of teaching something. We can just learn from one another. And this is the only thing that we believe in. The only thing that can redeem us is collaboration. And we want to support individuals, but better communities to be heard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Borut. Now we are moving to our next panelists. Maja Vranjes obtained her master's degree in Italian language and literature from Belgrade University and specialized in interpretation and translation at University of Trieste, obtaining her second master's degree in translation and interpretation. Since 2019, she's pursuing a PhD at University of Koper, study program in language and interculturality. Her PhD project focuses on subtitling and its usage in translation and language teaching. She has been teaching translation and interpretation from Italian to Serbian and Croatian for 17 years at University of Trieste. Since 2016, she teaches Italian and Serbian language and culture at Serbian Orthodox religious community in Trieste. She is especially interested in intercultural aspects of language teaching and in audiovisual translation as a method for learning a language and culture. She presented on conferences in Slovenia and Italy and followed more than 50 theses at University of Trieste. Maja Vranjes, could you sketch a little bit the situation of Serbian community in Trieste and explain briefly what is the situation of integration of the Serbian community in Trieste?
Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I come from Trieste. I'm actually a Serbian. I lived there for like 24 hours, and years. It was like a second. And now I'm going to present you the Serbian community in Trieste, which is one of the historic communities of our town. The reason for the presence of the Serbian community in Trieste is the following. In the 18th century, there were 2 important charters that brought a lot of, especially ship owners and traders from all over Europe because the free port was established. The free port was established by the Austrian Emperor Charles VI in 1717 and in the 1719. And afterwards, there was another important charter which proclaimed the religious freedom issued by Maria Theresa of Austria. So those 2 documents brought a lot of persons from especially Boka Kotorska, Dalmatia, and that part of the Europe speaking about Serbians. Also, persons came from Greece and other countries to trade and to make wealth. So they became very rich in the meantime and established what is known today as a Serbian Orthodox religious community. That is the institution that actually supports all the cultural and all the activities that are linked to pursuing culture, language, and Orthodox religion for the future generations, for our generation too. So what are the if you can, this is the one. Ovako. Okay. No? Please help. The second. The third. Excuse me. Yes, this is maybe the most interesting building that you will certainly notice if you go to Trieste. That is the Church of San Spiridione. This is the second one, built at the end of the 19th century, in 1869. It was consecrated. Before that, there was another church built together with the Greek community. There was this Orthodox Greek Illyrian community that got together to profess their religion. And what happened? At one point, they divided because they had not the same language to celebrate liturgies. So at the end, in 1793, the Illyrians, so-called Illyrians, which are actually Serbs, adopted their own statute and proclaimed the new community, Serbian community. At the same time, the Greeks built their St. Nicholas Church, which is along Trieste Seaside Promenade. So what you see here is of course, the church. The church was built and constructed by this Lombard architect, Carlo Macciacchini, and is built in Neo-Byzantine style. Aside of this church, there are many other very beautiful buildings in the city of Trieste that also today attract so much interest of tourists, and not only them. And they are built by families of rich merchants such as Kurtović, Gopčević, Vojnović, and Miletić. Maybe the most beautiful one is the one built by Gopčević family, which is near the Gran Canale at Trieste, and is today the center of some municipality administrative offices, and also of a museum of theater. So what is written in these slides has nothing to do with what I'm saying, but anyway, I'm trying to add some data, interesting data. Speaking about Serbians today, we are in approximately 15,000. Why do I say approximately? Because once a Serbian becomes an Italian citizen, you cannot find them in registers. So they actually, I'm an Italian now, if you look at Anagrafe in Trieste. So, but some estimations say that we are 15,000, and that makes us the most numerous minority community in the city of Trieste. I already said about Serbian community, Serbian Orthodox religious community, which supports all the activities that are taking place in Trieste regarding culture and similar activities. And the Serbian Orthodox religious community is on its way supported by the Friuli Venezia Giulia region and also the municipality of Trieste, which support their activities, such as, for example, they financed the reconstruction of the church in the last 2 decades, but also they established this office for the Serbian Orthodox community, which helps citizens coming from Serbia with their administrative issues. And they are also very interesting for the elections, but that's something. Okay, trying to. Yes, we are most proud of our school. School has almost 200 children from age 3 to 15. And there is also a very important choir that dates from the 19th century. There is a very beautiful and rich library, and so on. And I just want to mention also these three cultural associations, Vuk Karadžić, Fontes Mostovi, and Serbian Youth cultural association that organize many activities, some in a sector of sport, some like traditional songs and dances, and some organize scientific and other cultural conferences on important personalities coming from Serbia or ex-Yugoslavia, such as Nikola Tesla. And I wanted just to mention this documentary film made by Alessio Bozer, which speaks about Serbian community today. I don't know if it's possible to put the link. Yes, but just to copy the thing on the bottom. Like 50 seconds. Do I have 50 seconds? Okay, thank you very much.
Da, a mislim ovdje kada krene
So,
to, znači ti
if you
slobodno
can
to na
find
tome
this
pogledaj,
film,
ali kad zadnji
it's
taj.
interesting. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Maya. That was very interesting presentation for us. It was completely new data, information that there are so many, such a big minority of Serbian community in Trieste. Now I am presenting next panelist, Dr. Zaira Vidal. I also kindly invited you to the stage, and please prepare for the next presentation. Zaira is a researcher at the Slori Institute in Trieste, where she also serves as the president of the scientific committee. Currently, her main position is the research and grant office of the University of Trieste. She holds a PhD in political science and ethnic studies from the Faculty of Social Science at the University of Ljubljana. Zaira, please provide to the audience the insight in the political participation and cultural rights of Slovene national and linguistic minority in Italy. And what are the challenges for political and cultural participation of the Slovene national community in Italy? What are the critical questions for the use of minority and regional languages and diversity management in the public administration of multilingual and multicultural areas? Please describe us the case of Slovenian national community.
Hello. I'm a member of this community, so the Slovene national community in the Friuli Venezia Giulia region, which is the region where Trieste is the capital of this region. So you for sure you know it. Also, Trieste has also a Slovene name, Trst, for instance. And just some features about this community. It is, if we define it, a historical national border minority. Not of consequence of recent migrations. Let's say the Slovenian people have always been there, but the borders move. So people do not move, but the borders move. It is a consequence actually of the formation of the national and state borders in the Upper Adriatic area. Starting from the half of the 18th century, and it lasted more or less in the middle of the previous century. This period was a highly conflict period for this area with wars, authoritarian regimes, repressions of the Slovene community and of minority languages, and let's say generally also repression of all kinds of diversity in this area. But fortunately, also because of international and national protection laws, this area, if we consider the cross-border area between Italy and Slovenia, is today, we can define it laboratory of integration processes, of EU integration processes, of cultural institution and from the institution, from the cultural, institutional, and economic point of view. We will also host next year, 2025, the European Capital of Culture, which will be centered in the cities of Nova Gorica. Nova Gorica is of the Slovenian side of the border, and Gorizia or Gorica, which is on the Italian side of the border. So as all members of national communities around Europe, as I understood, you come from Spain, the main of you, so the most of you, so you have very well-known linguistic and minority communities, national communities, and also leading communities, especially concerning autonomy arrangements. So our characteristic is, of course, that we are bilingual, so that we master Slovene, in this case, Slovenian and Italian languages, let's say, since we were born. Of course, where we live, this is the map of the region Friuli Venezia Giulia, and we are settled in a defined area, which is defined by the protection law. And these municipalities, we are today in 32 municipalities. They are positioned on the border, of course, between Italy and Slovenia. So some minority rights, we have public schools with Slovene as language of instruction, we have media in Slovene languages, a newspaper, some radio programs, TV programs. We can use Slovene language in public administration and public science. We have own cultural organizations, for instance, theaters, libraries, and different kinds of associations. We are well organized concerning sport organizations and associations, and we are also well organized concerning political participation. So we have some Slovene elected representatives starting from the municipality level, a representative in the regional government, and also a representative in the Italian parliament. As I was asked to talk about challenges, I choose to talk about one challenge. You would expect that I would talk about how are we included in the Italian society, but I will speak, in fact, how do we as minority include majoritarian members, so Italian-speaking people, because this is a very big challenge today for this community. And that's also why I pose this question: whose rights are today minority rights? So if minority rights are just rights for minority members, or are rights for all the people who live in areas that are defined as diversity areas, bilingual, multilingual, or plurilingual and pluricultural areas? Why do we have this challenge of inclusion of majority members? Because in the last, let's say, 30 years, many also Italian-speaking families, for instance, decided to enroll their pupils in Slovene schools. So this is one challenge. Then we have also concerning sport activities or cultural associations, which are, of course, Slovene-speaking environments. We have lots of, let's say, people who come from Italian families or Italian-speaking families. We have also a very important phenomena of adults, for instance, learning Slovenian language, also here for different kinds of reasons. For instance, some of them had grandparents or relatives speaking Slovenian, but then this language was not transmitted, let's say, in the next generation. So it was lost in the family. So they try to take it back. And so we can say that Slovene language is today open to all the people living in these areas. So areas that are defined as minority areas, and it is in fact an individual choice. So an individual choice for us who are, let's say, already members of this community, minority community, to keep being in this community, but also a choice for those people who are not, let's say, from a minority background, but that can kind of enter this Slovenian environment from the cultural and linguistic point of view. Okay, of course, this inclusivity, how to say, brings also many open questions. For instance, concerning Slovene schools and associations in Friuli-Venezia Giulia region, we are kind of seeing a kind of course, of shift from mostly Slovene-speaking environments to prevalently Slovene-speaking environments. So it means that environments that traditionally were Slovene-speaking, today we have, of course, also members in them that are not of, let's say, Slovenian mother tongue. So Italian language is more prominent also in these environments. This is particularly, how to say, actual in the Slovene schools, because this also leads to having new approaches for teaching Slovene language in these minority schools, not just Slovene as a native language, as L1, but also Slovene as second language or even as a foreign language. Of course, very important is the identity question. We have today various identities inside the Slovene community living in Italy. Of course, let's say a core Slovene identity, so people who would say, I am Slovene. I'm part of this, of course. If you ask, I will say I am Slovene. But we have also a variety of bicultural, multicultural, mixed identities. So people that come from mixed families where parents can be one Slovenian speaking, one Italian speaking, or one Slovenian speaking, the other from a migrant, for instance, from a migrant story. And this also deals with the role of the Slovene political elected representatives, which today will deal with very intercultural, highly intercultural environments, and they have to manage their territories considering this interculturality. So we have, for instance, municipalities which are ruled by Slovene-speaking mayors, but these territories, of course, are not just Slovene-speaking people live in these territories, also others Italian-speaking, but also from other communities. And so also these political representatives deals not just with minority questions or minority rights, but they have to deal, of course, with a very complex and, how to say, mainstream questions. This emerged particularly during the pandemic. So in the cases of emergency crisis, or also emergency crisis concerning, for instance, natural disasters or climate changes and so on. And that's all. So just to conclude, I have maybe 30 seconds more. Yes, okay. Just to conclude that just to say that also for different kinds of minority group having challenges and posing questions about who we are, who is our group, and which is the role of this group in the society is always very good. It means that we are, how to say, that we are active, that we are dynamic, and that we are integrated in contemporary socio-political context, and of course that we are not a kind of ghetto, but part of the, let's say, the whole community.
Thank you very much, colleague Zaira Vidal. Now we will speak about the biggest minority in Europe, that is Roma minority. Sandi Horvat is the president of the Roma Academic Club and comes from the Roma community in Prekmurje. The Roma Academic Club primarily works to promote the value of education and for Roma and Sinti. This NGO, established in 2008, has also been educating the majority public about the importance of education in general and about Roma in Slovenia. During their Roma Culture Month, Roma Nochon, members of the club provide lectures and workshops for the students in various districts in Slovenia. University of Primorska often hosts the representatives of the club within the courses at the Faculty of Education and Faculty of Humanities. He's currently employed as a journalist and presenter of Roma programs on national radio and television. He holds a master's degree in intercultural management. He's also a photographer and an author of many books about growing up and living in a Roma community. Sandi Horvat represents one of the few members of the Roma community with a higher education in Slovenia. Sandi Horvat is also a member of the first Roma LGBT NGO in Slovenia, which addresses the minority within the minority. So Sandi, is it possible to answer the question, is being Roma in Slovenia an advantage or a hindrance?
Thank you so much. Yes, I like to speak. Well, that's a really hard question to answer. We do have some examples when being Roma was or is an advantage. For example, Roma students in elementary schools do get special additional learning help from the Roma assistants who got employed by the elementary schools, not just because they're qualified, but also with the fact that they are Roma. Even myself got the opportunity to be on Roma program employed by the National Radio and Television solely because I was Roma, part of the Roma community, because it's for Roma, made by the Roma. Unfortunately, in my 16-year-long work in the Roma NGO field, I talked really and met with so many hundreds with Roma individuals, not only in Slovenia, but across Europe. I have to say that being Roma is more a hindrance than an advantage. Roma people, speaking generally, of course, are more likely to be discriminated based on their ethnic background more than any other minority in Slovenia. In the past, I worked also for several years as a teaching assistant in Roma settlements in my region, where I saw firsthand the potential in the young Roma, and we helped them to achieve a good educational status. After they finished even high school, they tried to get employed, but for some reason they didn't get a job. We assumed it was also part of being part of the Roma community. In regions where the Roma live, they can be recognized as Roma solely based on their surnames. So a lot of the Roma already changed their last names, their family names, to hide their identity, at least on paper. Another phenomenon we saw a couple of years ago when we established a great number of highly educated Roma in Slovenia, most of them also part of our NGO. And because we were always invited to participate in several projects or invited to national conferences by the government officials or even meetings with ministries to talk about the Roma, none of us were ever actually invited or considered even to be employed by these officials. Just imagine like having a highly educated Roma employed at the Ministry of Education. That way, the ministry wouldn't have to reach out to the Roma community to talk about the Roma because they would already have a qualified Roma individual as a counselor on Roma topics at the ministry. Our members also try to stay in Slovenia and get a job, talking about the highly educated Roma. But they didn't get a job also. They found the job elsewhere. The foreign countries recognized the potential in hiring the educated Roma within the system, so they could change the system from within. We didn't see that happening in Slovenia yet. Today when we talk about these individuals, we talk about a lost generation. The other lost generation is being formed right at this moment, especially in my region, where young Roma are so integrated into society, they don't feel Roma anymore. So now the real question arises. How can we preserve the Roma culture, especially the Roma language, for the future generations if the young Roma don't feel Roma anymore and don't speak the language? What makes us Roma? What will make us Roma in 10, 20 years? If the young generation doesn't speak the language anymore and the families change their surnames? Will everything come down to, I don't know, how Roma stereotypically look like or the location they live in? For decades, not only in Slovenia, Roma tried to show the majority population that we too can belong and be part of the society and to have the same rights as every other citizen. Nonetheless, the word Roma in Romani translates to man, human. So Roma, we're also just some people. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. You haven't talked much about LGBT. I know that you are caught by a time limitation. So with the next presenter, we can hear something about this issue. I kindly invite Assistant Professor Dr. Marko Gavrilovski-Tretjak, who will speak about mapping the silence, exploring challenges and barriers for LGBT plus youth in an educational context. He's coming from the University of Primorska, from the Faculty of Education. And as probably you noticed, Marko was promoted to assistant professor recently. So to the former version of the plan, of the time schedule for this meeting, he was introduced as assistant with PhD, but now he's a regular professor, right? And assistant professor. So congratulations, and I'm sorry that it was in between with these kind of mistakes, okay? Marko was an author together with two of our colleagues, Nika Ferbejar and Alia Filipic.
Challenges and barriers for LGBT plus youth in an educational context. This presentation will cover the findings of recent research, as Alenka said, on minority stress and resilience among LGBTQ plus students, highlight key themes and issues related to educational experiences, outline a future study entitled Mapping Silence, and discuss future research directions and challenges. Okay, thank you. Firstly, I would like to introduce you to the research paper titled Elements of Minority Stress and Resilience in LGBTQ plus Students' Experience of Educational Journal of Homosexuality, authored by Nika Ferbejar, Alia Kupinic, and myself, and published in this year, 2024. This study deals with minority stress and resilience of LGBTQ plus students in education. We conducted narrative interviews with 27 individuals between the ages of 17 and 41. The results show that minority stress significantly affects their educational experiences and manifests itself in various negative outcomes. However, the education system can promote resilience and reduce distress. The main findings show that social support is crucial. This study emphasizes the importance of exploring how school, staff, and peers, of course, support can further strengthen the resilience of LGBTQ+ students and provides a foundation for future research in this area. Okay, this slide highlights key themes in LGBT+ educational experiences in Slovenia. Studies have consistently shown that LGBT+ students face significant challenges and barriers. Homophobic violence in schools remains a critical issue. A study by Maljevac and Magic emphasizes that schools are often a dangerous environment for LGBT+ youth with high levels of mostly hidden violence and limited support. Mayer's concept of minority stress explains how social structures and stressors such as violence, discrimination, and marginalization affect LGBT+ students. This stress leads to negative mental health outcomes such as depression and anxiety. However, resilience strategies, including social support, can help to reduce this kind of stress. Challenges and barriers are also systemic inequalities and the lack of the specific policies to support LGBT+ students. Addressing these issues requires comprehensive strategies that involve peers, educators, and policymakers. In summary, understanding these key issues is essential to developing strategies that create safer and more inclusive educational environment for LGBT+ youth. The upcoming project, Mapping Silence, will focus on researching the experiences of minority stress and microaggressions among LGBT+ youth in Slovenia schools based on Mayer's concept of minority stress, which emphasizes the impact of social structures and stressors such as violence, discrimination, and exclusion. Special attention is paid to microaggressions, subtle and persistent actions such as micro-insults, micro-assaults, and also micro-invalidations. These are present on such a micro levels that we don't usually pay attention to it. But LGBT+ youth are aware, and these affect them in great. They have really bad consequences for them. The project aims to understand how LGBT+ youth cope with these stressors by applying resilience theory, which emphasizes their ability to survive and thrive despite these challenges. By examining these stressors and the resilience strategies of LGBT+ youth in high schools, this study aims to uncover the complex realities they face. Expected outcomes include a better understanding of minority stress and microaggressions, improved school environments, and improved mental and physical health for LGBT+ youth. So, okay. Looking ahead, there are several important directions for future research on LGBT+ youth in the educational context. Firstly, further exploration of minority stress in various educational contexts is critical. These include primary schools, university, and also vocational training centers. Long-term studies are needed in this area to track changes over time, offering insights into how experiences of minority stress and resilience evolve. Comparative studies with other countries provide a broader perspective and help to identify and context-specify issues. Challenges include overcoming stigma and sensitivity around LGBT+ issues, ensuring ethical access to participants in developing inclusive strategies. There is also a need to ensure that research and policy reflect the diverse experiences within the LGBT plus community. To summarize, addressing these future directions and challenges is crucial to improving our understanding and support for LGBT plus youth in education and creating a more inclusive environment for all students. In closing, I would leave you with a powerful quote from Harvey Milk. And of course, thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Marco, for your interesting presentation. Now we are coming to the part when you will have some chance to ask a question to the panelist or the keynote speaker. And now I also would pass the microphone to my colleague, Rosabel, who is actually the organizer of this event. The role is yours.
Yes. Thank you very much, Alenka. Yes, so now, fortunately, we have big time for discussion, and I think that all these communications and the first one deserve discussion, deserve questions, so please feel free to ask or comment, not only questions, just comments, whatever you like about these topics. We will pass the microphone. How do you think is better? Okay.
I may help with microphone, whereas the speaker will be given that one. Is there any questions?
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Rita. I come from Universidade Católica Portuguesa in Portugal. Thank you, Professor Vlado, for your speech and for sharing these ideas. I have a question and a thought for you. At our university in Portugal, we have several statements, from the Code of Conduct to some gender equality plan to ombudsman on ethics, on equality and inclusion. We also have some practices across the 17 schools we have across the university. And now we feel the need of training. Besides, so we feel that we have the branding already. We need the training on one hand, and we also feel that we need a cultural transformation of our community in terms of the practices. So I would kindly ask for some advices or guidance on how to start from this big picture into the practice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I don't have a receipt for this. Everyone in the academia should reflect how we behave, what we do in our life. Not just in matter of commitments or declarations, but actually what we do every day. So that's the only way that we empower our disposition to act in equal, fair, inclusive way. So, and also in this means individually and collectively. You have institutions or environments that are institutionally not very much disposed to such values and principles, but there are some individuals that are better empowered too. So it depends. You have environments that institutions are better equipped to follow values and principles in reality. So so I have no receipt or a magic solution for this. I think so. We should think what we do every minute, every second when we are in interpersonal relationships. That's the only thing. And particularly in academia, because the academic institutions, they swear for collegiality, professionalism, etc. So this is even more important than in some other sectors of society, I suppose. So everyone should start. Exactly. So that's my position. And also, I didn't want to be too critical to the institutions as such. Because I can imagine that there is no ideal academic environment. But still, I would like to see this branding and even hyper branding, day branding, a little bit more transformative anyway, in everyday practice. That doesn't just stay at the level of a masquerade or a fakeness. Exactly. So, and we can start now, or yesterday even. That's the best recipe, I think. Okay. I'm otherwise anthropologist. I'm not an expert for the institutions, sociologist and philosopher. So I'm not the advisor, a good counselor for from this institutional point of view. I'm also not a functionary here. I'm a teacher, and that's all. And I'm also a person. So thank you.
Any other?
I have a broader question for, I think, all panelists. Can we, or maybe how can we remain positive that strives for equality and inclusivity will end up working in this climate of a rise of alternative right movements? I think especially in Germany, most notably, but I think all over Europe lately.
There's a question for panelists. Zaira, you need a mic.
Yeah.
So you asked about the right wing, let's say, political situation in Europe. Okay, we just like to how to say to explain the position of the Slovene community in Italy now, because we have probably you know the Italian government is right, very right government. On regional level, we have a political party, which is Lega, which is also a right political party. And we have a mayor in Trieste with a majority party, which is also very right. But we are still alive. Let's say that what is positive is that, for instance, for national minorities, is that how to say the institutional framework and also the legislation that we have. This is a guarantee for us. So it doesn't really mean that if you have extreme right movement, that I would say in 5 years they will completely, let's say, deny all these rights. But it is also instance, if they have to take a decision which is pro-equality or against equality, it will be, of course, against diversity in this case. Because, for instance, the Slovene community in Trieste is asking for kindergartens in Slovene language, not kindergartens, but the what is before kindergartens, yeah. Nurseries, yes, in Slovene language, but because a lot of families ask for these nurseries in Slovene language, as I told you before, there is a positive trend already 30 years that also non-Slovene speaking families ask for, let's say, school services in Slovene language. And of course, this, let's say, government that we have in the municipality, they said, no, there is no need for other, let's say, nurseries in Slovene language. So, and this is a problem. So what is important that you have also this political element that is active, that is dynamic, so that you have also representatives that can fight for it. Of course, in this case, we do not see any results now, but we hope that we will not have this extreme right government for other 20 or 30 years. So what is positive that this, even if you have right movements on the political level, it can change. So it's not the democracy. Of course, this is the positive thing of democracy, that you don't have the same government all the time. But of course, it is very, very challenging, this question.
Well, I should say that the quick answer to this is we should not be afraid, because the right ideology is it working? Yeah. Right ideologies are a real danger to a democracy that we know today. And we should stand against this kind of exclusion policy, and we should stand for human rights. I was growing up in a big fear that someone will hurt me, that someone will kill me, that I will stop exist if I explain how I feel, how I think, and so on. And this fear was quite big because I didn't have any role models. I didn't have any people who would stand up for this kind of for their ideas, or I didn't know them. So we should connect in the way they are connecting, because they are really strong, because they are connected, and they think the right wing ideologies, or people who are following this kind of ideologies, think that they have a right to exclude other people. They don't. And we should stand against it. Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to add one data from Trieste. For example, the Serbian community is very supported by right-wing parties, so we don't have that kind of problem. I don't know why, probably because opposed to Slovenians. I don't know what is the point of the thing. And also, speaking generally, there are also right-wing parties in our countries. So in Serbia now we have this right-wing party on power, and they are very friends with Italian right-wing parties. So tomorrow, for example, we have a big business forum in Trieste organized by the two governments. So it doesn't have much to do with minorities, but it has to do with politics.
If I may, I just wanted to add to that comment which was previously made, that I'm from Saarland University. I'm the local Transform for Europe coordinator there. And I've been there for 10 years at the university, and I've seen the situation about, especially LGBTQ, the situation of students and staff worsened there due to what was mentioned. And we are pretty sure it's due to the current political climate, because we have experienced that when our associations on campus put up posters of their events, they get stolen or ripped apart. The rainbow flag gets repeatedly stolen of their association. They are getting being cursed when they put up their event posters. And I think what's very crucial is the support not only of the members of these communities, but the support of everyone, of the whole academic community, and even more of the institutions themselves, because I have, like, I've also been engaged in higher education politics at my university, and it was always very, very hard to convince the rectorate, the Senate members that this is not the university is not political when they support the rights of the members of these communities, and when they support basic human rights. It's not political when they issue statements in favor of, you know, of their rights, and when they defend the rights of these people. And it's not only queer people. It's like, you can, you know, it's anti-racism, it's anti-Semitism. It's like when the institutions stand up for these communities. It has to do with politics, but it's not, because they always say, oh, we're neutral. We are a state institution. We cannot, you know, and this is not, we're in 2024 and this is not an argument anymore. So it's, and I think they slowly start understanding this, but they should send out way more signals that they understand this. For example, I don't know, taking part in prides, like, or at least like being there and saying like, hey, we walk in the pride as an university community and everyone is invited to join, because it's only the associations which join the pride and then say like, hey, everyone's welcome. What about the university saying everyone's welcome to join and we will be there? And it's like, same with demonstrations, and like there are so many opportunities. And I know that Saarland University in Germany is not the worst, right? So like, no, really, like I know how hard I'm in touch with my Italian colleagues right in Trieste, and you can be sure that they are not going to call for participation in the Pride parade in Italy, because they like, it's very hard. They're very harsh, restrictive hierarchies and stuff. So I think we should really call up our institutions to like, really speak up to this and send a signal of support to also like show that there's hope and don't be afraid. Like, I really think that should, there should be a louder voice of the institutions.
Marco, you are not heard without microphone.
Participants, I said that we should write these words down because they are so important also for our university. Thank you for this comment.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I have a microphone now, so I may ask something, Borut. How is it, you said that you already established the contact with African colleagues in Senegal, but how did you cope with all this post-colonial legacy, having in our minds that we do not have a kind of colonial history, but still the challenges may be around?
I mean, of course, it's one of the main questions, but I would probably go a few steps back a little bit, respond to the debate that was here. I have to say that I disagree almost with everything that you said. I don't like to talk about society and talk about us and them. I think this is the main issue, because yes, we are probably here, the majority of us is left-wing, and the problem is that we don't talk with right-wing people. And what we are doing also in Africa is base our work on two principles. The first one was really good told by Sigmund Freud in one of his work, and he said that he mainly agree with communism, but he disagree with Marx with just one point. The point that Marx said that people are inherently good and the social system make them bad. Freud said, no, we are inherently bad and the social system is just a reflect of that. So we are working with our inherently bad and how to treat this. And the second approach is we live in a society that is based on logic. And this logic is not everything that makes us humans. We forgot about emotions, we forgot about feelings, and we are walking towards a society that has no empathy anymore. So our main challenge is how to teach values and empathy, how to make people feel again that when you said or do something wrong, you can provoke pain to another human being. And all the right wings and left wing people, of course, there are a small percent of them that are sociopaths, but the majority of people are just afraid of things that they don't know because they were raised in this way, they have values in this way. And when we will be able to admit that the society, we fucked up, sorry for the bad word, there will be no redemption. And me, myself, I'm not positive. I'm hugely pessimistic, and I hope for the nuclear winter to come soon, or for a meteorite that will make end of this, because we are on the slowly death right now. And in Africa, I mean, our approach is, of course, we have different skin color, but what does this tell about us as human beings? Nothing. And we want to be in contact with other human beings to establish collaboration and to see how we can support each other. And this approach is, for us, the only way we know how to do things.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions, comments?
So if we don't have any further comments, I would like to make some final conclusions very briefly, because I think that everything that needed to be said, it was said. Thank you very much again to the panelists for the organization. And I'm really, really happy with my colleague and I, Noelia, when we started thinking about this back in February. We saw this like an idea, like an illusion, and seeing that it's finally done here with you, it's really, really emotive for us. Yes, thank you very much. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the event. It's also important to know that this is just the first event of a series that we are going to do among the rest of T4EU weeks in Katowice, in Kaunas, in Alicante at the end. So I hope to see you there too. And again, thank you very much. So we deserve a big applause for yes. So please, before going, you can scan this QR to do like a brief satisfaction questionnaire about the experience so we can improve for the rest of the events, and of course, read your comments. Thank you.